Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you, Sangat Ji, for joining together again in another beautiful, blessed moment where we can remember the divine together. This Sangat of the Divine Light is a universal platform. And here we aim to share spirituality that can be absorbed by everybody. It complements all faith traditions and none. The divine has no barriers. The divine is true love, is the overflowing, ever-flowing ocean of love. And that ocean has no barriers. Here at Sangat the Divine Light, here as a beautiful Sangat together, we rise above our value judgments. We rise above our perceptions. We rise above our various backgrounds. When we come into this Sangat, when we come and sit here in this Sangat, imagine that you do not know who's sitting left and right of you. You do not know who's sitting left and right of you, because in this Sangat, I'm sure there are some very blessed souls who are sitting within us today, and we, with their vibrations, with their connections, we will also arrive at the divine. And together we become a one universal, beautiful family. There's one thing that unites us here, Sangat. The divine scriptures tell us, Tu Japji Sahib Bapa Hamara, Naune da Tere Akut Pandara. Our divine Father is one. The divine Father, the creator of the universe, is one and one for all. And all treasures come from their storehouse. Our one Father is one, and their gifts are overflowing. Allah and Vaheguru are the same. Ram and Rahim are the same. God and Ishwar are the same. So when we come to experience this divine, we realize that this divine is beyond any description, beyond any label, beyond any name. But in helplessness, in a desire to know the divine, we refer to them with many names. We refer to them as the divine, or simply wow, Vaheguru. Kiara ji led us into the Mool Mantar, and in the Mool Mantar, the divine is described as one, Ik. That's a definition of the divine. Then Oankar is a definition of the divine. Then Satanam is the truth, is a definition of the divine. Karta Purk, the creator, is a definition of the divine. Nirpao, Nirvair, without fear, without enemy. They're all definitions by which we refer to the divine. Akal, timeless. Ajuni, Sahapang. And then Aad Sach, true in the beginning. Jugad Sach, true throughout the ages. Happy Sach, true now. Nanak Hosi be Sach, will always be true. These are all definitions of which we refer to the divine. Whatever mantra we use, whatever definition we use, whatever characteristics of the divine that we choose to adopt, stick with it, focus that, make that your meditation, because in that you will arrive. The question is not what mantra you have chosen. The question is to remember that mantra, to remember the divine, to dive deeper into that ocean. All mantras, all traditions will take you there if you follow it. So last week, Sangat Ji, our brother Mandeep Singh Ji introduced the topic of the art of listening, and this is referred to as Sunan or Suniya. Guru Nanak Dev Ji has expanded on this concept of listening, of Suniya, in their Japji Sahib. And throughout the traditions, the Eastern traditions in particular, there's a central concept there that has three different stages of spiritual development. This is known as Sunan, Manan, and Nidhyasan. And if we translate this literally, this means, Sunan means to listen to the knowledge. Manan means to contemplate on that knowledge, to think about that knowledge. And then thirdly, the Nidhyasan is to implement that knowledge in your life. The end result is that this soul, with the divine's grace, comes to the place of Anand, to bliss, to Saj, to that tranquility, to that unification with the divine. The 10th master, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, refers to this in their Sarabalo Granth. They say, Darsana Parsana Taran Saravana Man Nidhyasana Karta Tare. Seeing, touching, holding this practice of sarvan, of manan, of nidhyasan. So hearing this knowledge, contemplating this knowledge, implementing this knowledge, we are carried across this world ocean. What is sunan? Spirituality in recent times has centered on this idea of being in the present, being in the present moment. And we know that many books, much has been written about this central theme of being in the now, to be completely present. And the thing is, this is a concept that's been sold as being quite new age or something new. But there's nothing new about this. All religious traditions have been singing this for centuries. The problem is we just haven't listened. It is this present moment that Guru Nanak Dev Ji has referred to as Sunya. For Guru Nanak, one needs to be present in the Shabad. So to be present in the vibration, in the sound of the divine. Being simply present is not enough for the soul. If we think of it this way, we send our child to school. The teacher reads the names of the register for that child to take the attendance of that child. A child then answers their name in school to that register, and they're marked as present. But that child's presence is only known by their ability to absorb those lessons in that very moment. In the same way, Sangatji, any of our moments, any of our instances, any seconds that we're existing could be negative or they could be a positive experience. The present moment that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is referring to is to be constantly in the presence of the Shabad, to be constantly in the presence of the divine. There's no point in you reliving a negative experience again and again and again. This is the realization that everything in every moment is divine. Sunya is the silence of the external sounds and vibrations, and instead listening to the sound of the divine within us. And so in the Japji Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji has spent 4 verses, 4 different steps, Pauri, just talking about Sunan. Then afterwards, there are 4 stages of acceptance, Manan. And only when we've gone through these 4 stages of listening, and then there's 4 stages of accepting, Manan, do we then come to what Guru Nanak Dev Ji is referred to as Panch Parvan, Panch Pradhan, Panche Pave Dargevan. And that is the unification, the experience of the Absolute, the Nidhyasan. So over the next few weeks, Sangatji, over the next few sessions, from various different speakers, we will be going through these processes, these stages of Sunan, Manan, and Panch Parvan as described by Guru Nanak. And last week, Bhai Mandeep Singh Ji led us into the first stage of Sunan. And from where they left off, we will pick up today, and so on and so forth. What is the art of listening, Sangatji? The art of listening requires intense focus. Our ears are always open, but yet our ability to listen is very weak. Hearing, actually, and listening requires no action. To look, to see, we have to open our eyelids. To touch, we have to reach out to do something. To eat, we have to eat. But in terms of senses, hearing requires nothing. Hearing is there. Listening is there. It just requires our focus. Our ability to listen has been weakened And this is weakened because we fail to understand what's operating that faculty of listening. And so before we can come into this present moment, we first need to encourage this faculty to move away from its distractions. What distractions are these, Sangatji? The illusion of Maya, the illusion, everything that's unreal. And then the foot soldiers of this Maya, the five thieves, the lust, the greed, the anger, the attachment, the pride, the turbulent waves of our countless emotions and experiences that we just built up and built up and built up and still relive and relive and relive again and again. So first, before we even come into the stages of Sangat, there needs to be an association. And this is why the Gurus, our spiritual texts, have always pointed us to the Sangat. First, come into that Sangat, that company, that gathering, that spiritual gathering. If anybody needs treating for anything spiritually, the first place is the Sangat. Firstly, one attends the Sangat, and slowly, as the Sangat permeates your every being, you start becoming present in that Sangat. You start becoming one with that Sangat. In the same way, we chant our mantra slowly before we become present in that mantra. That mantra allows us to come into its rhythm. In the beginning, our mind is all over the place. But with that repetition, with that continued chanting, we then come into the repetition, we come into the center of that rhythm. The same is said for service and seva, Sangatji. Seva, or selfless service, this develops our ability to be in the present. And when you're a sevadar, when you're someone who's giving yourself in service, you see every single moment of your life as something that's working for the divine. You're at service of the divine constantly. You're ever ready to be in their service. And then being ever ready, like any other servant, they're always watchful that nothing is left undone. And this type of service requires you to do filtering. A filtering of the mind, filtering of your preconceptions, to do anything for your divine master in any situation. How this links to listening, because as a servant has to give their all to their master, to their divine, to serving, at this point of presence, in this present moment, when you're listening, you're giving 100% of yourself to the other. You're giving yourself in service to the other. And if we adopted this listening in our worldly life, Sangatji, then we will truly be in the present, truly be connected with one another. And the thing is, we're not offering ourselves 100% to the other. When we're speaking to one another, we're already conjuring thoughts, images, emotions. We're already thinking about how we're going to respond. We're already thinking about how we're going to maintain our own value judgment. And we all do it. But the listening that Guru Nanak Dev Ji refers to is to give 100% of yourself to the other. And from here, what happens is a deep relationship between servant and master develops. A relationship born from pure love and silence. The mistakes that we've all made from time to time is that we will go to the church, we'll go to the Gurdwara, we'll go to any Sangat, whatever our tradition is. But our mind is full of the thoughts, doubts, troubles, endless conversations. And the thing is, we kid ourselves. We think we put endless effort in going to the temple. We think we put endless effort on this journey, and we think we've gone somewhere. And all we've done is we've gone from one place to home, one place to home. We've gone to the church and we come back home. We've gone to the Gurdwara, we come back home. And we do this journey countless times. But the effect has not happened. That change has not happened. What we've actually developed has not happened. And we go through life like this, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and actually not getting anywhere. Because all our effort has been put on going to these places and coming back. But our mind has stayed exactly the same. So, Until this inner song is heard, until we have the ability to hear this inner song, we won't find this silence. But from this silence comes a great blessing. The thing is, when we go to the Sangat, when we go to the Gurdwara, we're going to the church, we're going with all these trials and tribulations in our head. We're going with our own truths and our misguided perceptions. And instead of listening to what the Divine wants to tell us, instead of listening to that message, the Mannan, and implementing it in our lives, we're just coming back with the same misconceptions that we left with. To truly listen means to quiet and cut through that inner dialogue, those inner thoughts, those inner perceptions. And when we come into that Sangat, when we come into the presence of those blessed souls, we need to listen to their path, listen to their teachings, let them be a positive change in our life. We have to come to the Sangat, we have to come to our master, we have to come to our Guru completely empty, completely empty. Empty your mind at the feet of your Divine and let the Divine then fill you, complete you. Because the true master wants nothing but for us to give to us. But if our storage has reached capacity, those messages won't be received. It doesn't matter how much we attend the Sangat. It doesn't matter how many scriptures we read. It doesn't matter how much we praise the masters. If our mind is full with our own noises, the sound of the Divine will not be heard. And the thing is, when in this external world, we put a lot of emphasis on communication, but communication's weak, Sangatji. In the spiritual world, we see that the more we speak, the greater we're able to articulate ourselves. But the paradox is, the more we speak, the greater our separation with the Divine. And if we look at children, Sangatji, when we see a child that's kind of silent, very silent, we start worrying that there's something wrong with that child. We start trying to teach that child the ways of the world, thinking that this child needs to speak, needs to interact more, otherwise this child will not be able to react, not to be able to live in this world. There's something wrong with it. And these problems, these trials and tribulations came in the life of Guru Nanak Dev Ji as well, Sangatji. There came a time when this young Guru Nanak Dev Ji was absorbed in meditation for days on end. They'd given up their need for food. They'd given up their need for water. They were absorbed in meditation, and their parents, Mata Tripta Ji, their mother, Pita Kalyan Das Ji, became very concerned about their son. He's just absorbed in meditation. He's sitting silently. He's not speaking to anyone. He's turned away food. He's turned away water. He's turned away any social interaction. He doesn't respond to the basic communication, but basic commands. Guru Nanak Dev Ji had reached a place of pure silence. And there they rushed for the local healer, Pandit Hardayal Das Ji. And he came running to diagnose this child. There's something terribly wrong with our child, they said. But as Hardayal tried to test Guru Nanak, as he performed all these tests on Guru Nanak, Hardayal was shocked to hear what he was hearing. Because within Guru Nanak Dev Ji was such an intensity of the Shabad. The internal voice of the Divine that was coming was throbbing through Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And this shook every part of Hardayal. Because Guru Nanak Dev Ji was able to reveal to Hardayal what was happening within him. As Guru Nanak Dev Ji states, Ved balaya ved ki pakat dole baha, pola ved na jani kark kaleje mahe. The doctor was called Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and he touched me, he touched my arm, and he felt my pulse, and he done all his tests. But this foolish doctor doesn't realize the pains of my heart, the pains of my mind. What Guru Nanak Dev Ji was saying here is that they've switched off from the world, from this Maya existence. The pain that Guru Nanak Dev Ji was experiencing was not something that Hardayal could diagnose. Because Hardayal himself had not suffered from that condition that comes from loving devotion. The pains of the mind where one is so in yearning and in love for that divine. Here, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was choosing to be the observer. They were witnessing and experiencing every single moment, and they weren't getting themselves trapped in the wheel of time. Sangat Ji, silence is the language of the saints, and in silence they speak to one another. And in that silence, the secrets of the divine are revealed. One thing that's come to mind now, there were two great saints of this last century. One was named Sant Dalal Singh, and the other one was Sant Baba Miha Singh. Sant Dalal Singh and Sant Miha Singh. And it came a point where they both met one another. This is something I've heard from other people who were present at the time. Sant Dalal Singh came with their companions, with their Sangat, to meet with Sant Miha Singh. And they sat in front of one another. Sangat Ji, they sat opposite each other, very close to one another, opposite each other, eye to eye, staring intently at one another, but neither saint said a word, other than the initial salutation to each other. For a whole hour and a half to 2 hours, they sat in silence, complete silence with one another. Not a word was said. Everybody was astonished looking at this sight, Sangat Ji. And then an hour and a half passed. Sant Dalal Singh touched the ground and just walked out. Nothing was said. No words were exchanged. And they left. The Sangat were all astonished, perplexed by what had happened. They thought it's not right for these two saints to fall out. Why were they not speaking? And the way that Sant Dalal Singh just left. What was happening here? And when they inquired with their respective saints, when they spoke to Sant Miha Singh, when they spoke to Sant Dalal Singh, they both smiled and said, "We were speaking for a whole hour and a half to 2 hours. Did you not hear the conversation?" Because they were having an internal conversation, Sangat Ji. They were talking in a different realm within each other. The saints live in this place of silence. The silence is their chosen language. And Bhai Sahib Ji, Bahadur Singh Ji has spoken about this many times, of their connection when they were speaking to Baba Ji in a very similar way. Because the secrets that are revealed in silence are much deeper and more profound than those that are lost in words. It's only with complete helplessness that the divine then comes up to us in words where we haven't understood their experiences, we haven't understood the feelings, we haven't understood the expressions, the conversation that's happening within us. Only then does it come in words. But Sangat Ji, now let's reflect on the 9th Pauri of Japji Sahib, the art of listening. Guru Nanak Dev Ji sings the following. Suniya Isar Barmaind, Suniya Mukh Salahan Mand, Suniya Jog Jugat Tanaped, Suniya Sasat Simrat Ved, Nanak Bhagta Sada Vigas, Suniya Duk Paap Ka Nas, Nanak Bhagta Sada Vigas, Suniya Duk Paap Ka Nas. Firstly, Guru Nanak Dev Ji sings, Sunyai Isar Barma Ind. By listening, through this silent listening, the deities, Shiva, Brahma, and Indra have come into existence. Earlier in the Japji Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji has referenced this Holy Trinity. The three forms of divinity, one being the creator, one being the sustainer, and one being the destroyer. These deities also represent the three forms of Maya, the three forms of this illusion from which we all play. But what Guru Nanak Dev Ji has said is that all of this experience comes from the one divine, comes from this one silence. Maya is a delusion. It's a forgetfulness. It's what veils us from our true reality, our true nature. And each of these deities, the Brahma, the Vishnu, the Shiva, they represent different aspects of this Maya. And when we transcend these different aspects of the Maya, we rise to the fourth state or the divine state. But interestingly, in this Pauri, Guru Nanak Dev Ji speaks of a different god, Indra, and not Vishnu here. The Trinity normally consists of Vishnu, but here Indra is mentioned. What Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying here is exactly the same thing. That the identification of these three forms of Maya, this gross mind, this desire-based mind or passionate mind, and the mind that's fulfilled with our ego ideas, that spiritual ego, all of this comes from listening and is also transcended from listening. And through this listening, we pass through these various stages of Maya, and we rise above the needs of this body. We rise above these passions, these experiences, these desires. Our desires keep us attached to this body, but when we follow the spiritual path, the conflict between our ego, our individuality, is broken. Mentioning the Trinity here, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying that all of our manifestations, all the prophets, whether that's Vishnu, whether that's Indra, whether that's Brahma, whether that's Shiva, whether that's Jesus, whether that's Guru Nanak, all of the avatars, all of these manifestations, all of these prophets, all of these sacred traditions have all come from this very place of silence, from this one. And in that silence, they are listening. From that one primal sound of Ik Oankar, this one vibration, all has come, all creation has come. And it's through this silent tradition, these silent listening, that we merge back into the divine. The Guru has explained further. Suniya Mokha Salahan Mand. Mand means ignorant or sinner, those that have sinned. And the Guru is saying that through the art of listening, it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter where we are, what we've done in the past. None of that matters. Before whoever comes in the presence of the divine, whoever comes into that silent present, even the most sinful of people can find the divine in that present. Let us reflect on this, Sangatji. What do we mean by sin and ignorance? Sin is something that's referred to as Bab. But Bab is a reflection of our countless thoughts and the actions that those thoughts then produce. The ignorance we experience is through the connection we've established to that ego and not with our inner soul. And a combination of these two produces an unstoppable flow of thoughts, which then binds and traps us into this world. That is what we refer to as sin or Bab. Usually we identify sins with criminality, but for the most, this relates to the most subtlest of our desires. And as we said before, Sangatji, Guru Nanak is saying we can break from this. We can break from this here and now. And the way to break from this is simply witness the thought, acknowledge the thought, but let it pass. Don't get trapped in that moment. An example, Sangatji. A car passes you on the street. You see that car, and then you register the thought about it. And then that thought replays in your mind. You might even have thoughts or desires to have that car. You start talking to other people about that car. And before you know it, the mind has lost its focus. That desire, that repeated thought, those conversations about that car have now permeated you. They're stored in your soul. The same with lust. The same with any other emotion. We see someone that attracts us, and that then conjures a whole range of thoughts and emotions and actions. Those wheels start turning just from that one thought that we registered. And from here, our karma develops. Karma is associated more with our thought than our actions. However, it's our actions that we judge. It's the isolating the thought that we need to do. We need to isolate that thought that's behind that action to actually do anything about it. Without cutting the roots, we're just giving rise to those same thoughts, those same sins again and again and again. Focusing on the actions is like cutting the branches of a tree, but we need to cut that root, what's sponsoring the thought behind it. And we do this through listening, through retreating, through our meditation, through our seva. We then become the witnesses, the observers, simply witnessing these thoughts and letting these go and not holding on to that root. Don't fight the mind. We were speaking to Bhai Sabji this morning and they were saying exactly this. Don't fight the mind. Do not suppress that thought. You simply won't win. The mind is too powerful. You simply won't win. Don't fight the mind. Instead, make it a friend. Involve the mind. Use the mind. And in doing so, we conquer it by literally just changing its direction. Witnessing that thought, observing that thought, but not being held into that thought, not being kept prisoner by that thought. If a thought comes, let it go, let it pass. And doing so, we remove these numerous pains that this birth and death cause us just by witnessing. Guru Nanak Dev Ji then says further, Suniye jog jagatan ped, suniye sasat simrat ved. Through listening, Sangat Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, we learn the secrets of yoga and the mysteries of this body are revealed. As our divine experience deepens, we realize that all the answers are within us. The whole universe is within us. Jo brahmande soi pinde, jo koje soi pave. Everything is within us if we search for it. The secrets of the body and the universe are all within us. And in this Sangat Ji, we become very conscious of our breath. We're conscious that we do not want to waste any second. We do not want to waste any second hearing or allowing any perception to be created that would block our internal sound or internal hearing. Yog means yoga, the practice of yoga. But it needs to be understood here, Sangat Ji, the Guru is not talking about yoga as a practice as we know it. The Guru had no interest in this. Yoga means union. Yoga means oneness. Here, the Guru explains the internal yoga, the meeting with the soul and the super soul. And that union happens in silence of listening. This is the point of Son, Samadhi, the full state of Turiya. And it's this very thing that Guru Nanak explained to the yogis themselves. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, Antar sunan bar sunan tripavana sunan masunan chauthe sunan jo nar jane tako paap na punnam. The divine is found through silence. That same divine silence is outside and within us. The silence of the divine can be heard through the three states of Maya and in all creation. But when one hears that silence, then they come to the fourth stage where they've risen above both vices and also the need for praise or virtues. In a similar way, Sangat Ji, through listening, we obtain the knowledge of the scriptures without even reading. The path of spirituality is open to all. To those who have read the scriptures and to those who haven't. Through our meditation, through our practice, through our seva, the wisdom of the scriptures, the essence of the scriptures are found within us. By constantly reading and reading, there are times where the beauty and the essence of the divine is completely lost because it hasn't permeated us, it hasn't changed us. The experience of the scriptures, the experience of the divine come to us at the time when it's appropriate. Many times, Sangat Ji, you may feel something. You may feel you've experienced something, You've enjoyed something, only to later find that the scriptures have talked about that very thing you're experiencing. They've corroborated your experience. They've corroborated that blessing that you've achieved. It's always safest to fall back to that scripture. It's always safest to fall back to that Sangat that's experienced this bliss. But through our meditation, through the awareness of our scriptures, our understanding will come automatically, spontaneously. So there are those, Sangatji, that will study the text, and through this study of the text, through the study of the scriptures, their devotion will start. At first, their path is very academic. It's very external. But from there, a devotion can develop, a love can develop from what they think they've understood. But then there are those, Sangatji, who have not studied anything. They've not learned the scriptures. They've absorbed their messages of the divine Sangat. And from this, the inner urge to meditate has manifested, it's intensified. They follow the instructions of the Sangat and the pious souls without question. And through this seva, through this service, and through their meditation, they arrive at their door of faith. Whatever path is adopted, Sangatji, both of these paths will go to the divine. They're equally beautiful. Both will bring the mind into the present silence, and both will bring you into the presence of the Guru. We just need to adopt one. What is left, Sangatji, is that the seeker comes to this place of bliss, to Anand, to what Guru Nanak Dev Ji has called Vigas, the ultimate goal of the seeker. In this state of listening, Sangatji, in this silence, the seeker remains in constant bliss. And it's in this bliss that the pains and sins of our thoughts and perceptions are no more. This Vigas, this place of Anand, is a place of no thought, of silence. Vigas is limitless, Sangatji, just like the divine is limitless. The seeker just drowns deeper and deeper and deeper into that bliss. And the inner ear, the ability for us to listen, intensifies. Here, Sangatji, all our conversation ends. So Sangatji, when we travel within, when we go deeper into this experience, we might first find this to be really challenging. Our natural tendency is to speak. Our natural tendency is to lose ourselves in words. But as Bhai Sahib Ji has explained to us previously, in Anand, in Vigas, two become one. And only those in silence will actually understand what this union is. Because they say words create duality, entanglements, attachments, but silence is totality, completion, fulfillment. Silence is a place of perfect harmony. We were born from this silence, and in this silence the treasures of Naam, the treasures of the divine will be found. This is the birth of our meditation, Sangatji. The birth of our awareness and our alertness. True meditation then becomes effortless, spontaneous. This is all born from kirpa, from nadar, from blessings. There's no technique that will take you here. This is all a path of blessings. And any talk about this without any experience of this grace is just a lie. Sangatji, focus on your mantra. Focus on serving. When you notice your thoughts going another way, calmly bring them back into the mantra. Calmly bring them back into the seva. And in doing so, we then develop our one-pointedness to be in the present moment, here and now. Next week, Sangatji, our brother James Singh will then talk through the 10th body of this art of listening as we climb the steps of this divine realization through the blessings of Japji Sahib. And with these words, Sangat Ji, I beg your forgiveness. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.